Welcome to No Gods, No Master Volumes, a podcast by two pedal nerds talking about pedals, sometimes with other pedal nerds. I'm Simon, I'm a record producer, musician, and I make pedal demos as Tunnel of Reverb.
And I'm Gwion, I run Holy Island Audio, a one-man effects pedal operation from Cardiff in Wales.
This episode we are joined by Evan of DIRGE Electronics, the monarch of melt and connoisseur of noise. DIRGE can only be described as a way of life, encompassing their art, pedal design, and instrument creation. Evan's approach to gear is unique, whether it's a custom-engraved double slowly melting pedal or the famous shovel guitar.
We're not worthy!
Open that shit up! How's your week been, Evan?
Been all right. Yeah, today's been a little silly, but no, it's been all right. Yeah, job's doing all right, and got some pedals built. This job has been scheduling me on office days on Fridays, and it's like meeting after meeting after meeting. And so I've been utilizing that to build pedals.
I think I saw in your Discord like a box of melts or something.
Yeah. So I've been able to build up 14 on Friday, and I think I built up 11 the week before. So we're getting there. But yeah, we're getting there. So
was that for Relic?
No, Relic's batch. I dropped those off last weekend, and that was its own thing. I only made five. Well, I made 5 singles with Expression, and then 2 doubles with double Expression. And I think Mike ended up keeping one of the doubles, and then the other double went to one of his regular customers, and then he was gonna try to drop the 5 that I made on the website, but apparently 5 people in New Jersey at 1 p.m. decided that they needed a slowly melting, and they all sold out as soon as.
Fuck yeah!
Well, I saw the picture of the person in like the deck chair outside.
Oh yeah,
waiting for 1 p.m.
Yeah, so we're gonna do more. I want to get my batch done first before I make anybody else anymore. But yeah, I think Relics are gonna stay having the Expression mod just to keep them a little more exclusive and to make my return a little bit better than a normal. I'm the reason that I like just selling them myself is that I don't have to worry about marking them up for other people, and I don't want there to be a price difference selling them through somebody else versus me. So having the exclusivity of the Expression mod kind of gives me a little wiggle room to raise the price a little bit and get most of my money back. So
that makes sense.
I mean, this batch too was so I could get that new electrical guitar company guitar. That was really my main.
That's fair.
Yeah, doing the batch, but
well, I mean, we're both in the Robot Graves camp at the minute. They seem to pop up more often around. Oh, in the UK at least. I don't. You got yours when you were in the States? Did you, Simon?
Yeah, I got it in America. I haven't tried any EGC yet, but I'm interested to try it because I think it's probably very different. I mean, they're all very different to each other, right?
Are all very different, and Robot Graves is in their neck profile too. It's like I call it Texas toast because it's like a nice piece of French toast. Wide, and then it's like a rounded rectangle profile, which for being as thin as it is, it doesn't feel thin because the shoulders are so wide. I had a few bolt-ons of his a few years ago, like right pre-pandemic, and they definitely ring out. They have a nice feel to them, and it is quite different than like an EGC or like an Alif or Illuminati.
The Tides, if you ever see, I've only ever seen one. Played a show with someone and he had a base 6 Tides custom thing, and that was really close to the Robot Graves as well. That same weird neck. That neck's odd though, because it's like as soon as I played that, wooden necks feel. I guess that's just a thing anyway that you kind of turns you off wood for a bit, but I really like that weird flat feel.
I played a Tides once. A friend in Florida had one that he had bought used, and he sent it up to me check out. And yeah, it's got a similar profile. It was one of the early tides, and he's probably up at 100 or even past that at this point. This was like number 26, so it was like a real early tides. But yeah, very interesting. And then tides is interesting too because that headstock angle is actually bent into the aluminum. There's a small channel recessed where the neck meets the headstock, and it allows that angle to be bent in, which is, I've never seen that before. You can do some crazy pitch stuff just bending the headstock, but
that rules.
Yeah.
That sounds like a more dangerous whammy bar. Like, I don't know. Surely you can't break it, can you? Surely it's metal.
Yeah,
Well, there was that guy who broke that Obstructors guitar.
Yeah, I sold.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I sold him the 0.75 structures, and it's funny because when I dropped it off at his house, he was like, "Yeah, I want an aluminum guitar because I want to see how rough I can be with it." And I was like, "I have a lot of money to to figure it out." And yeah, he played a bunch of shows with it, and he's a vocalist, so in this band, but he brought it along with him, and he threw it into the crowd, and then he picked it up and then like threw it at his amp, and it just like hit the perfect angle on the cement or whatever and just completely snapped the headstock off. So but and I was like, God damn it. But no. Matt from Obstructures is actually really stoked that it broke, and he saw it as a design opportunity to figure out the weak spots of the guitar. But I should have figured, because like one of the early Obstructures website pictures is them running over one of the prototypes of the car. So
I saw that.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of encourage it. Well, like from the marketing perspective, because there's pictures of like the guitars on fire and stuff, isn't there? Or
Yeah, that was Matt's thing.
I dream that. Yeah.
He would like the way that they would end the set is he'd light the guitar on fire and smash the drum set. Yeah, I should have figured, but yeah. So the guy sold the guitar after he broke it at like a steep discount, I guess, just to get it out. But Matt told the seller that whoever bought it, he would weld the headstock back on. So I mean, they are tools. I mean, I treat my Obstructures the same way. So yeah, I guess it's a opportunity for learning. We'll call it. So.
That's a very positive way to look at things. I mean, I treat my guitars the same. I don't feel like I've never really been that precious with stuff, but then I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with maybe playing more aggressive music as well. It tends to be the guitars that bear the brunt.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't treat them. Like they're just tools, but I've definitely broken a lot of headstocks, and I always regret it afterwards. Well, I've never done it on purpose, but it's happened a lot.
Yeah, I've just never understood the babying of like gear. They are tools, and I mean, to get the most out of them, you got to really dig into them. And yeah, I've just never really treated them otherwise.
No.
And you have to actually use them. That's the other thing is like a lot of my stuff is like chipped up and looks kind of gnarly, but it's because I play it.
Well, they sound better when you beat them up. Do you know when you play it aggressively, you can hear it. Like it sounds angrier, yeah.
And I think that lends itself to like my process with Dirge, like the aspect of it, and being hand painted and just being like single clear coat with a rattle can or whatever. It's like it's gonna chip, it's going to show wear, but like that's proof that you're using it and putting it to use. And they're all unique, and please use them. I don't even ship slowly meltings with instructions anymore, because I don't think that really lends itself to what I want people to get out of the pedal, them to really dig in themselves and figure out what works for them. Because it's funny, every picture of like a slowly melting I see on a pedal board, they all have extremely different settings, and it's like, oh, that's something that I've never even tried. So just the experimental nature of all of that too. I really have grown to appreciate. So, yeah, I started building pedals in 2010. But before that, I came from like a noisy improv background. I got into Marysville High School and just saw like his junk guitars, and I was into harsh noise, and I still am. But just like the circuit bending aspect of everything was really interesting to me. So the first pedal that I ever got was a Digitech Death Metal, and
Nice.
I had it for a few years, and then I circuit bent it and subsequently broke it. But the process of circuit bending was just really interesting to me. So I'd go to thrift stores and buy like kids' toys and figure out like where the clock was, so that I could put like a pot in to control the speed of the clock or whatever. But yeah, that's how I got started building was circuit bending, and I still think that kind of holds true to what I think Dirge is, just trying to be extreme and find new sounds and open circuits up and really just dive into them as far and give as much control as you can to them and just be fucking crazy. Like, 'cause if you're not making noise, what are you making?
For real.
Makes sense. Well, I mean, you've sort of like, because I'm sure I've spoken to you about this before. Like, I used to work in a bookshop, and we'd sort of sit on the till, and when you're not serving people, you used to just have access to the internet. So I just like troll through I Love Fuzz and just misc guitar forums and stuff. And I remember you posting. It would have been years ago now, which feels really weird because obviously we've spoken online and stuff, but I felt like I'd already sort of been like, oh yeah, this person's making this stuff, and it was already in my brain before we'd even spoken. But do you feel like the fact that you've sort of documented that stuff from the beginning, because you were posting about the process right from the start, right? Do you feel like sort of informed what you're doing now, or?
Yeah, yeah. I Love Fuzz was a really big influence on me starting out too. So my second pedal that I ever got was a Devi Ever Eye of God feedback looper, and influenced by I Love Fuzz, obviously. But yeah, I Love Fuzz in general. I think I had like 16,000 posts on it. I mean, it was my life for a while. I had a desk job around the time that I was heavy posting there. I also tend to overshare as a person too, so I think that also went hand in hand with being, like a farm junkie, like just showing everything that I was doing, building or making a rig or whatever. And yeah, the very early Dirge process is definitely archived there. Things starting out, and so the first pedal that I tried to build was a Devi Ever kit, and I got the kit in and I populated the circuit board just fine, and then I went to try to actually wire up the pedal, and this was like 2010ish, and I mean, the internet definitely existed, me being on the I Love Fuzz forum, but I don't know why. For whatever reason, I did not look up how to wire the foot switch the right way. So I had everything was ready to go, but the shit would not turn on. And I got so irritated. I spent hours trying to figure out how to get this foot switch to work, but I didn't have any pedals that used that foot switch. They were all like pre-built bigger companies, so I didn't have anything to of. So in my frustration, I ended up throwing it away, and I regret to this day throwing that away, because I know it would have worked if I just fixed the foot switch. But again, mistakes definitely build learning. So that was a real windy way to get to my point. But
yeah.
No, I Love Fuzz was a huge influence, not just on talking about gear, but also just trying different things out. They had a huge buy sell trade section that was thriving at one point, and I played a lot of different pedals through selling or buying or just trading different people on that forum. So it was a nice way to just try things out, figure out what I liked in a pedal. I went through a huge delay phase on I Love Fuzz. Yeah, it was just a good way to talk about gear. It had that huge DIY section that you could just chat with people that knew a lot more than you did about pedals. And yeah, it just kind of escalated from there.
Sick. Seeing that process, probably like one of the big reasons that I started building stuff as well. I wouldn't have felt confident to do it without someone sharing, from the get-go. Definitely makes it feel less of a sort of like dark art or whatever. It's makes it real.
Yeah, and I think now with new companies popping up, that transparency isn't always there. Like they're always out with like their first polished product, but I think it's also important to see the back end of it too, because it's not all. I mean, they had to learn somewhere. They didn't just pop out without some sort of knowledge. So yeah, I think that back end is important too, just to show that you are a person. You are going through R&D. You are there are failures to whatever you're doing as well. It's not all just popping stuff out. So I mean, there are some people that do, but I mean, no, there's failure in everything, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, again, it's a learning and a building process. So, yeah.
Where did you go after that Devi Ever kit? Like, did you leave it a long time before you built again, or did you go straight to something else?
I went straight. The first successful pedal that I ever built by myself was a ZVEC Super Hard-On clone. Tagboard Effects, if y'all are familiar with it's a blog spot, and they have like hundreds of different Vero layouts of just different cloning pedals. And around that same time, I had a friend that built me a tall font Big Muff, and it had a three-pole double switch, foot switch, and he built it on Vero, and he sent it over to me, and that was how I cloned his foot switch wiring, and I built the Super Hard-On, and that was the confidence boost that I needed to say, hey, I could probably do this. The Super Hard-On worked the first try too, so that was also really rewarding. I felt lucky in that it worked first try. Yeah, so the first successful pedal that I built was a ZVEC Super Hard-On, and it's funny because I feel like now in my pedal journey, I'm like, there's the super weird side of me, but like there's the guy that also only uses a compressor 90% of the time when he plays now. So just going strip back is kind of ironic now. But yeah, so I built a Super Hard-On clone. I remember I used like ridiculous amp parts inside. So I used like capacitors and like the most expensive shit that I could find. And I've always been into big pedal enclosures. I know that everybody's into like board space or whatever, but I don't know. I'm clumsy and aggressive when I play, and I just feel like having more foot space lends itself to being aggressive. So I put it in this huge enclosure, like 2 or 3 times the size of a normal Super Hard-On, and that was my first pedal that I built. And then after that, I don't know where I went. It's probably on I Love Fuzz, but I know that I built something that stands out. I built like a woolly mammoth clone for somebody, and yeah, it just kind of went from there. So a lot of early tagboard effects builds, just to kind of get myself going and fluent with how pedal stuff worked, and then from there, the first, I guess, circuit that was put together was the Even Anguish that I did, and that is my take on the harmonic percolator. And the harmonic percolator is just such an interesting design. It's funny because it's kind of like a fuzz face, and that it is entirely dependent on what kind of parts you put into that circuit. I've found. I built a few percolators prior to that, and then John from Electronic Audio Experiments whipped me up a prototype board, and I remember distinctly, instead of populating it with anything, I just put sockets for every single component. I spent a good solid number of hours just tweaking the values to what I liked, and found that I liked some really ridiculous values inside of a percolator that I've never seen before. And so I just kind of went from there. And I also wanted it to be a little bit more versatile too. So I put a diode lift toggle on it as well. Like it a little bit better without the diodes in. Just kind of gives it a less squishy feel to it. So I think they both have their place, but for my own playing, just having that kind of not squish, because I play hard. I play very hard. So if you're hitting the strings hard and you have that squish, it'll fart out with the diodes engaged, but not have to play a little harder. So that was the first, I guess, like production pedal that I did. Trying to think when that was. That was 2016-ish, I guess, maybe 2015, 2016, something like that. And I think I did 20 or 25, maybe even 50 of those. And they all sold out. And that was like the first time anything had, well, that was the first time that I had done like a run of more than just like a one-off or whatever. But there was actually a demand for them. So I don't know. I think I was still on I Love Fuss at that time when I was making those. But I kind of transitioned off around the time between the Even Anguish and the Slowly Melting. But the Slowly Melting I did in 2017, 2018. So it was a little while after the Even Anguish. But I ended up making, I'm trying to think of how many Even Anguishes that I did. About 100, maybe a few more than 100.
Okay.
Yeah, I did them all in batches, and I don't keep numbers very well. That's not something that I'm not concerned like keeping track. But I'd say there's about 100 Even Anguishes out there, and then the Slowly Melting came about. I was messing with a delay circuit, and I just started swapping resistors for pots. And again, having more control, not really knowing what I'm doing, kind of took it from a circuit bending aspect again. You know, how much control can I get out of this stupid chip? And then I ended up with the Slowly Melting. I made 5 prototypes of the circuit, like just to get a board test and verify that it worked. John at Electronic Audio Experiments did the board layout for me. And so I built 5 prototypes, and those actually went like instantly. It was weird. I don't know if I was riding on Even Anguish hype or whatever, but the 5 prototypes went, and that paid for the first run of 50 Slowly Meltings that I did. And I remember distinctly. So in my old townhouse with my ex-wife, we had 2 bedrooms, and the one bedroom was our bedroom, and then the other room was like the gear and building room. So I built all of those first Slowly Meltings in that gear room, sitting on the floor really late at night. I drilled all 50 enclosures with a handheld drill. I painted them all out by the dumpster in front of our our townhouse. And that first batch of melts was interesting. I think I sold maybe half of them, and I think I gave the other half away. I think I traded the other gear or gave them out to people because I think like halfway through it kind of lost momentum. I don't know what was going on with that. But so the first batch ended at 50, and they kind of circulated for a while. And Ian from Collector Emitter did his demo of his, and that's where I think things started to like pop off for the slowly melting. So his demo sat around for a little bit, and it's funny. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. For as many slowly meltings as there are out there, there aren't very many online demos, and like I haven't released my own demo or anything. But I think there's only like maybe 5 or 6 YouTube demos of the slowly melting out there. So I don't know. Dirge itself just seems to have this mystique about it now. I don't know if it's because I can't keep up or because I only build when I have time or whatever, but like there's almost this mystique cloud over Dirge, and it's not intentional, but it's kind of funny. I like the lore behind everything. And I try to play into it, and I feel really bad that like people can't get my pedals. But yeah, there's like this like smoke cloud around Dirge, and I think it's kind of funny, honestly.
Oh, there definitely is. That's why we wanted to get you on here. It's demystify a bit. I mean, I don't want to put people off the magic spell of Dirge, but we just wanted to talk about that a little more in depth. Like,
yeah, I mean, honestly, if I could not have a day job, I need health insurance. That's the cut and dry of it. I mean, I had cancer. Luckily, I'm in remission for the time. But that's the sad aspect of America is like I could be building pedals all day, but instead I need a job that provides health insurance. So very highly considered quitting my day job about a year ago and just building full time, because honestly, if I was building Dirge pedals all day, I could probably make what I was making at my day job. Yeah, I build when I can. I also have 3 kids, which also keep me very busy. And my job is pretty nuts too. So I'm just trying to find time is my biggest obstacle for Dirge. I had a lot more time to build during COVID, so I spit out almost 200 melts during COVID. I did get to stay home a decent bit when I was going through cancer treatment, so I was able to spit out stuff when I felt well. But now it's just reduced to either staying up late or when my older 2 kids are with their mom, I get a chance to build. But my available time to actually spit stuff out is drastically less than what it ever has been. So, and so like the demand has gone up, but my time has gone down. So I think we're at that like X of the graph. And I think that's where things are kind of led to this cloud being built. So, and I think my mode of operation has also changed too, because I used to do everything via email. It was like, just email me, I'll hit you up when I have one available, and we'll kind of do that. And I did that all through COVID. It worked out really well. And I just don't have time to do that anymore. I don't have time to stay organized like that. And I just want to get stuff out there. So instead of, trying to take the time to go through a list, I just have been doing batch drops through Big Cartel. And that just makes it a lot easier for me to say, okay, these all sold. They're ready. Doesn't give me any sort of a timeline or a deadline or anything like that. And just allows me to not have the weight of that on my shoulders. I want to enjoy Dirge. I don't want it to ever not feel fun. So, I mean, there are definitely aspects of building pedals that are not fun, but if I can keep it light and something that's enjoyable for me as well, I'll continue to do this as long as I can. So just doing batch drops, setting aside a few hours to pack everything up and get them all out on their way, that to me is a lot more helpful for my mental health than trying to keep an email list. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it fun.
That's the most important bit. Like with anything music, like with the job that I do, like I do the same thing. If it's not fun for me, I don't want to do it ever again. And yeah, it's very important. And I think with your pedals as well, like I feel like people love the personality in them. Like I've got like 2 melts that are completely different, and I've got like a Chungus that I think your daughter painted. and they're just so like full of personality. They really stand out, and
That's that I like about Dirge. I don't know if I'm incredibly stubborn about Dirge too. Like I want my hand in every aspect of it. Like I think the only thing that I would be willing to give up in my process is the drilling of the enclosures. But my dad gave me a drill press 2 years ago, and I'm completely okay zoning out for a few hours in the shed drilling enclosures now. Like it's not as tedious as I would have thought it would be. Hand drilling the first 100 melts was definitely a task, but now having a drill press, it's a lot more okay for me. So yeah, I've considered like automating like the enclosure aspect of Dirge, but you said it, they're all unique, every single one, for better or worse. But I like that about it. I like that pedal that you have sitting in front of you is yours. There's not one that looks exactly like it. And I think that that's what makes it special. I always liked, again, bringing it back to Zvex, the hand painted line that they did, that you can have, 8 of this pedal and they're all hand painted and they all look very similar, but they are not exactly the same. And just creating that uniqueness. And like with your pedals that you screen print, they all have, different variables to them, different runs. And that creates its own uniqueness. Not to say that I don't like, mass produced pedals, but just creating that special small feel to them is something that I've really enjoyed. And I mean, for art. So like this is like a physical embodiment of my artistic process at this point. I don't really get to make much art otherwise. So, pouring myself into these pedals is some sort of artistic release as well.
Did you study art like when you were?
Yeah. My last year of high school, I went to like a technical center for graphic design. And then I went to VCU down in Richmond, Virginia for graphic design. So I actually have a bachelor's in graphic design. Coincidentally, I do not have a day job in graphic design, although I don't know that I would necessarily want to because, again, my approach to design is to keep it fun. And if I was doing corporate design shit, that does not sound fun. So...
Yeah, I had exactly the same thing. So my degree is in illustration, and I had one, not that anyone would listen to this that would know, but I had one like pretty big corporate sort of like work placement thing. And I was just realize how sort of soul draining that world can be. And it's like, that's not why I made artwork in the first place. I made it for myself. And as soon as you've got a suit telling you like to move elements around in a drawing or something, it loses that initial spark, I think, that makes something exciting for me. So I scrapped that off pretty quick.
Yep, you got to keep it fun, and that's definitely what it's all about. So, and I think that that's also why I'm stubborn about it too, because it's my process. It's what I find creative, and every artist has their process. So this is mine. I guess it's me being stubborn. Bring it back to like the automated enclosures. I have considered like machine drilling and like screen printing and everything, but then I overanalyze it. I'm like, well, if I want to do a screen print, I'm going to have like 5 variations of this screen print so that, there are still variations of this so that it's not just one thing. But again, I don't feel like paying for it, and 2, again, I just want to keep doing my thing. I've honed in on my technique. It's interesting in painting too because I know all of my enclosures look really random in the way that I paint them and do the splatter effect, but there's some batches that I spend a lot of time like trying to get a certain like, I guess, diameter of drip and not just little tiny specks. So that's the Jackson Pollock in me coming out. Yeah, it's all part of just being unique, and every aspect of that pedal is going to be different from the one sitting next to it. Like the batch I'm working on now, it is a purple theme. I guess that's all I'll say to keep the mystique. But If you line all of them up, if you line all of them up,
Yeah,
I
bleep
can
that
bleep
right
that out.
out.
That's cool. I'll censor it.
Yeah, that adds to it. Just put a load of random censoring in, please, Simon.
line all of them up. They are completely different, but they are purple. So no, and I think that's again what creates its uniqueness. And I just have fun with it. I'm going to be coming up on 500 slowly meltings here soon.
Wow.
And that I have made 500 of anything is pretty wild. But yeah, we're getting close. So the last melt that I made was 458 or 57. So yeah, 457, 58. So there's a little magnet on my fridge and it says melt, and then it's got the number of the next one that I need to make. So that's how I keep track
That's a
of
good
things.
idea.
Just after this batch that I'm working on now, we will be at melt 500. It is already built. It is ready to go, and it's got some unique things that I've never done in a melt before. So looking forward to dropping that. It's going to be a raffle. I believe what I'm going to do, and I've done it in the past, is I'll give some options where people can donate, $5 for an entry as many times as they want, and that will enter you in for melt number 500, and we'll do a giveaway. I don't have a date for that yet. I want to finish the batch first so that I can truly say that I have built 500 of them before I give it away. But that is down the pipeline, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. It's a ridiculous idea inside of a pedal. I don't know that I've ever necessarily seen a pedal do what I made this melt do, but I think it also plays into my harsh noise background. So that's all I'll say about it.
Love it. You're oozing mystery right now. So much mist. I can't actually see you in the webcam. It's just blurred out with so much mist. No, I'm well excited for that.
Yeah, no, I'll be excited to get that one out too. It's been a while since I've done a giveaway, so I wanted to do something fun and something special. So I'll be looking forward to that. And there are a lot of hot topics going on in America now, so I feel like there's going to be a lot of worthwhile things that I can have people donate to worth it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. So are we.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun. I'm not gonna say any more about it.
You won't ask anymore.
Mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I wanted to ask you as well where the idea for Power Chungus came from.
Power Chungus. Yeah, that's I guess the one that I haven't talked about. Yeah, so Power Chungus. There's not a whole lot of info out about it, and that's funny too. I guess that's my own fault, but it's a triangle big muff that's running at 18 volts instead of 9 internally, and it's got no clipping diodes and no tone stack. It's just got almost like a depth control, but not even. It's on a foot switch, so it's either bright or it's. But there's this guy on Instagram. I think his name's Softtech, for his username is Softtech Fuzz. But he found this crazy Japanese big muff that was it's yellow. I think it had a fucking cat on it or something, and it ran at 18 volts. It ran off 2 9 volts. And he said it was the loudest pedal ever, or loudest big muff that he had ever played. So I wanted to one up that and make the loudest pedal. I took the triangle big muff. I don't know. I've always had an affinity for the triangle big muff. I don't know if it's because of Boris or just in my experimentation with triangles when I was doing Veroboard stuff. I did make one in college, and I used all amplifier orange drop caps for the entire circuit. So I used a pre-built circuit board that was this big, but then I had a circuit board that was this big, and it had just orange drop caps for every single capacitor in it. But anyway, And that also lends itself to the Power Chungus Orange too. But yeah, I wanted to make the loudest pedal possible. So 18 volts, nothing getting in the way of that volume. I didn't want the clipping diodes to take any volume away. I didn't want the tone stack to take any volume away. I just wanted to be fucking loud. So in my more recent years of playing, I guess honestly, ever since I got my Science Shiv, I've just been really into amp gain and not pedal gain. So that's why I've been using compressors and boosts to just kind of push your tubes. And I wanted the Chungus to be like the ridiculous way to just make your tubes cry. That is the background of the Power Chungus. Alec at Mask Audio Electronics did the board layout for me. I will say that for spending so much time on a computer in college doing design, I fucking hate the computer right now. I have really honestly since I graduated, and I realized that I graduated from college 11 years ago now. So my computer use since then has been very minimal. I've never dived into trying to do my own board layouts. So that might be my ignorance or just me not wanting to, but I'll leave it to people that know what they're doing. So yeah, Alec did the board layout for me. And it's just fucking loud. So it's a very loud pedal. You have your on off switch, and then you have the bright and dark. The dark is like your normal kind of big muffy kind of growl. And then the bright is almost like a pseudo distortion, depending where you have the volume knob. I think Unity is like maybe 2 or 3 out of 10 on the dial, and then anything from there, it just completely obliterates the front end of the amp. But yeah, I had a lot of fun thinking up the idea, and I want everything coming from Dirge to be over the top. Like the Even Anguish was my take on an aggressive percolator. The Slowly Melting, it's a fuzz and a delay and just broken. And then the Power Chungus, there are boosts out there, but this is something else. So let's take it one step further.
Fuck yeah.
I really love as well the fact that there's no LED on it. Is just like, that was always my favorite thing about it, regardless. Like even before I heard it, I was like, I fucking love
the rules have been broken
because so many people get triggered by it, and it's very funny.
In the modern day age of guitar pedals, in that everything is small, it's convenient, it's form factor to fit nicely on your pedal board. If I can do something to fuck that up, I'm going to. Whether that means it's going to be in a bigger enclosure than it has to be, or if it's not going to have LEDs and you're going to accidentally turn it on and not know that it's on when you turn your amp on and it's going to blow up. Like I live for that that chaos. I live for the unpredictability and the just inconvenience of my pedals. I've heard people say that like they can't dial the same setting in twice on a Slowly Melting, and I kind of like that because that's just me. There's a certain kind of chaos that I bring to the table, and I like that.
I guess that's an aesthetic thing as well, isn't it? Because you've naturally got quite a chaotic style of putting things together, because it spills over into your instruments as well. Like, if I see a picture of a guitar on Instagram, I don't need to look at the username to know that it's one of your guitars. It's like, it's just there. You just have that effect on gear. It turns Dirge.
Shout out to the Shovel.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shovel. That's funny because when I was in college going for my design degree, I was like the black sheep of my design department because none of my stuff was polished. And like, I really played into like Xeroxed harsh noise, black and white cassette kind of aesthetic for all of my later design work, like my senior year. And it's funny because my design department, everybody else's stuff was like, yeah, I spent like 10 hours on this and like it's all proper, and mine was like fucking Xerox at the university library. And I just like the unpredictability and the kind of rugged and ragged properties of everything. And again, it just plays into, I think that my design is just kind of plays into gear, their tools. So yeah, and it just also plays into being rough on gear. I've never felt the need to really baby anything. I'm gonna make music with it. I'm gonna try things, with a guitar that I've either never seen or can get extra sounds out of. I think that that's part of it too. I just want to find new sound. I want to find the frequencies that you wouldn't normally hear. I guess that's why I'm drawn to aluminum. I want to hear everything that is possible and not just be limited, whether that's in my playing. And it's funny because, again, I'm going to bring it up. I only play with a compressor now, but I play with a compressor specifically because it's not going to hide anything. It's going to bring more. I use compressor as an effect to bring out more frequencies. Yeah, and guitar building and just experimentation has been equally as big of a part of this whole Dirge thing. My first, I guess, dive into guitar modding was around the same time as when Dirge started up too. I got my first nice guitar was a Fender Blacktop Jaguar, and I got the itch to build, but then I also got the itch to not leave things alone. So I started just modding that guitar, and I modded the shit out of it. It probably had 6 or 8 different types of pickups in it. It had lipsticks in it at one point because I was really into the Oliver Ackman lipstick, no volume control thing. So it just kind of escalated from there. I think my first full parts build was a Telemaster, or I don't know, what do you call it, Jazzcaster. But yeah, I just got satisfaction in having a hand in building or putting together what I'm also playing physically. And that's also just kind of lent itself and has continued. So I guess the latest iteration of that is Shovel, my guitar. I got the body from Braid down in Texas, which I don't know if they're doing stuff anymore. Yeah, it was like the ugliest fucking reused countertop slab that they had somehow jigsawed into some sort of a looked like it needed work type deal, and they were I think that they were asking $100 and they were going to donate it to a charity in need. This was way early in the Black Lives Matter movement, so I think all the money there. But yeah, that's the most recent iteration of a Dirge creation. But yeah, just trying to be impractical and just push the limits with the build stuff. So I think I haven't even mentally totaled this, but I have put probably dozens of guitars together at this point, with just really weird quirks, or my paint jobs, or just different odds and ends. But again, I think it's another artistic release for me as well. I've always envied people with really distinct signature guitars, or again, bringing it back to Oliver, an Oliver guitar when you see it. So that's also important to me. You know a Dirge guitar when you see it.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it inspires people to just do it, with guitars. We saw A Place to Bury Strangers last week, I think would have been a week today. But my girlfriend hadn't listened to them before and was sort of can't really gauge her reaction from watching Oliver sort of surfing one guitar whilst playing the other. Where she was like, I think he's gonna break it. I was like, yeah. That's just it though. It's it's as a live performance, sort of, it just demands your entire attention, and you can't you don't leave that not thinking that was so rad. How can I feed some tiny aspect of that back into what I'm doing? It is super. He's probably responsible for a lot of people
Yeah.
approaching things in that way.
And I think that I'm probably not unique in this, but I don't like hang out with a lot of people. All of my friends are online too. So like I've only been in one band. That's with a friend on Instagram, but we live 2 hours apart. So like we've only played 2 shows, and they were a few years apart, and we haven't played anything since COVID. But like just I felt like an outsider in that regard too, and like I've never been in a real band. I've always made music by myself. I don't like to have creative limits. I've never had to answer to a bandmate or anything, and I think there's a certain freedom in that too. More recently, with the I guess newer project that I've done, Lord Horsemeat, I'm like starting a track and then sending it off to somebody and letting them do whatever, or having them send me stuff and me finishing stuff on top of it. But that's like the closest I've ever come to having any sort of a band again. So yeah, I don't like creative restriction at all. I guess.
Yeah, compromise is definitely something I don't particularly enjoy when I'm making music, but it's got to be done when you're playing with other people. But I mean, those sort of online collaborative sort of music projects are really exciting to see as well, because that's sort of not really playing by many rules. It's just is what it is. It's I guess it's just that case of just doing it with what you've got.
Yeah, and recently, more recently, this year at least, I've been trying to give myself a personal goal of releasing one thing a month musically, just to get that other side of me out. I mean, I have all this gear sitting in a room. I might as well try to find time to put it back to use.
Absolutely.
And, just doing whatever comes naturally that month. Like I haven't put out a release this month, but I have at least laid the bones for a Lord Horsemeat thing, where I traveled to California early on in the month and stayed at an Airbnb, and they had a cello, and I'd never played cello before, but I sat down with it for like 20 minutes and made something really drony, and sent it to my friend Vince, and I sent I layered some stuff over top of it, and sent all these different tracks, and I told him to do his thing on it. So just trying to do something different every month, just trying to stay true to myself, but also give myself a little bit of creativity in that regard when I have time for it. But the rest of the month has just been building melts, so I haven't tried to hone that project in this month. But again, just trying to be creative in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're on the end of the line. Sort of whenever that stuff comes up, I just chuck it on in the workshop when I'm working. It is it's just like exciting stuff to listen to as well. Do you know?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of my music doesn't really have a start and a finish, or even really a goal within the tracks. But just trying to do something is more important to me than like the actual thing itself. I mean, I'll listen to it several times before I pop it up on Bandcamp or whatever, but just the act of creating, I think, to me is more important than the thing itself almost. But I've gotten to a point now where I'm like sick of making actual music again. So like it's like trying to be as anti-musical as I can, whether that means through like real instruments, or like I have a noisecore project now that I've been doing called Meat Casket, and just trying to push my own personal boundaries, and while still staying true to myself. Like, how short can I actually make a track? Or, how much shit can I pack layer wise onto this track, but still kind of get the point across to it. So just trying new shit. And again, I hate computers. So like me actually recording stuff, it says a lot, because I just don't like being on a computer to do it anymore. So like some of my recordings are even just voice memos uploaded directly from my phone onto Bandcamp. Like that was a creative process that I wanted to try. Is it possible to create a voice memo, master it on your phone, and then convert it to a plausible format for Bandcamp, create the artwork for it, and self-release something entirely on your phone? And it is possible. So like just again trying to be as creative as I can and just kind of find different ways to appease that for myself.
Yeah, I think like that approach to things is it's like a super positive outlook, I think, on making stuff, because people definitely get sort of wrapped up in having perfect production, especially when music production at the minute, as Simon can probably attest to, it just does get, it can be so complicated, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. Like you can make some really interesting stuff without necessarily having this perfect polished record.
I think just the act of creating itself and not even thinking of what other people are going to think about when they listen to it, just creating it even for yourself and being vulnerable and putting it out there is something that I've really tried to live by recently. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a part of you being vulnerable and just exploring creatively. And, as long as you're happy, I think that's what matters.
If it sounds good, it is good. That's what I always say to my clients. Like,
yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Well, thank you guys for.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Just let us know where people can find the Bandcamp page, and is it still best to go through Instagram to find?
DIRGE doesn't have a website other than the Big Cartel page, but the main way that you can stay up to date about DIRGE is through Instagram at DIRGE Electronics. You can also get to my Big Cartel page there. Again, I announce batches, the dates of the batches on Instagram. So if you want to keep up to date on DIRGE stuff, just follow the Instagram. If you don't have Instagram, I'm sorry. I've considered a mailing list, but again, that's something I just haven't had time for. Bandcamp page is dirgecollectiveforever.bandcamp.com. It's mostly my own stuff, but I have released a few different things from friends. But I'm always looking to collab with people. So if you want to collab with me musically, get at me. My email address is dirgeelectronics@gmail.com. And I'm just thankful for everybody's support. And I love everybody.
Hell yeah. Cheers, Evan.
thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good afternoon.